Hey, good afternoon. How you doing? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, please, so that I know that I'm loud and strong. Good afternoon. How y'all doing? How y'all been? How is this pandemic treating you? What's been going on? Talk to me. Let me know how you're doing. We're going to get started in a few minutes. Good afternoon. How you doing? What's going on? What you been up to? How you feeling? How is the day treating you? Can you hear me? Is the question. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Hey, Vito, what's going on, bro? Good to have you join me today. So you can hit the like and the share, get some more viewers on. I'm about to get started in 1 minute. Gonna get started. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Oh man, how y'all doing? What's going on, Vito? Talk to me. My mind went on Prophet Lawrence Roll. How we just say faces. Say faces. So we are about to get started, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Of course, as always, when I come live, the majority of the times, it's about Secrets of the Man Cave. It's a book that I wrote last year. It's been a year. Wow. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, I wrote this book. It was specifically written for men, but women can benefit from the book as well. You can find a copy of the book on our website, themancaveexperience.com. If you are in Freeport, Bahamas, you can hit me up and I can get a copy to you, or you can go to Bethel's bookstore. We also have an e-version of the book, which is on payhip.com. So if you are an avid e-reader, you can go to payhip.com, type in Secrets of the Man Cave, and it will pop right up for you. So for those of you that have gotten your copies already, thank you for your support thus far. Christmas time is coming up, so let's give the gift of reading. I think books are a perfect gift to give to someone during the holiday time. So if you don't buy a copy for you, which you should, I think that you should get a copy for someone that you think will benefit from the book. Today, our topic, hey, cousin, what you saying? Our topic for today is Heal the Boy and the Man Will Appear. And I kind of chose this topic because it stood out to me when I was having a conversation on Monday night talking about relationships and how a lot of times, a lot of us as men, the little boy in us never got the opportunity to be a little boy. So we are men walking, well, boys walking around in an adult male body. And there are things that trigger us and we respond a particular way because it's the boy responding and not the man. And so today I want to talk about that. That's something that I have in the book, just a little short excerpt that I have in the book. And it goes, there are so many of us that are walking around with baggage from our childhood that it affects the man that we are today. It is imperative that we find a way to heal the hurt, the pain, the abuse, the neglect, the rejection, and the abandonment that the little boy is carrying around. Only then will the real man appear. Many of us are walking around trying to satisfy the needs and wants of the boy, and that's preventing us from being the man we ought to be, the fathers we ought to be, the husbands we need to be, and the leaders we were created to be. Find a counselor, a mentor, or a psychologist or a therapist so that you can heal the boy and the real man can come forth. My prayer is that even as you read this, healing takes place in every area of your life and you'll begin to affect change in the men that are connected to you. I pray that you will become the man that you were created to be and that you will allow yourself to go through the process and be healed. So today we're talking about healing the boy so that the man can appear. There are so many men that are walking around today that are little boys. They have the figure or the physique of a man, but they operate like a little boy. And you can tell by the way that they respond in certain situations. So I have some questions here. And before I get into the questions, I want to talk about manhood for a minute. And I was reading, going through a book of a brother of mine called Manhandled. And in his book, he's talking about the man-child effect, the man-child effect. And I was sitting down and it popped into my head. So I'm going to talk about manhood. Manhood is the state of being an adult male. It's pretty simple. Manhood is the state of being an adult male. We live in a society where a man is taught from adolescence or from a little boy not to cry or to man up. And parents command boys to act like a man before they actually develop into one. So herein lies the problem, guys. We force our boys to become men before they have the capacity to understand what it is to be a man. So it's no fault of the boy, of the child. It's no fault of his own. But because his mom tells him, you have to man up and you have to take on this responsibility, you have to take on this role, that's the adult in the home. So, of course, he's going to just fall in line. So this is simply an injustice and deprives most, if not all men of their development and metamorphosis. I'll read that again. This is simply an injustice and deprives most, if not all men of their development and metamorphosis. So when we think of metamorphosis, let's think of a butterfly or a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. So if the caterpillar is forced to morph into a butterfly before it goes into its cocoon, then it won't be a beautiful butterfly and it won't be able to do what it was created to do because it skipped the process. And it's just like us boys that skip the process of being a little boy and then going into adolescence and metal and morphing into an adult male, going through the different stages. If we skip a stage, if we skip one stage, that's going to be detrimental to us because that helps in our development. So it's the same for a butterfly. Let's talk about a lion, for example. Let's imagine a cub being forced to be the king of the jungle before it becomes the actual king of the jungle. Then you have the lesser in the kingdom that can devour the cub because the cub can't or won't understand what it actually is to be the king of the jungle because that stage was skipped. And it's just like that for us males. When we skip a stage, then that becomes detrimental to our development. So I can only put the blame then on our parents or the adult, the what's the word I'm looking for? Guardian, the guardian that forces this role on to boys. They have to fill the role of being a father because the father is not in the home. So they have to become the man of the house. and take care of their siblings. They don't understand what it is to take care of siblings. They are a child themselves. They can help the adult in the home, but don't force them to become the man of the house, because they don't understand, they don't know, they can't comprehend what that is, because they have not gotten there yet. If forced to take on the role of an adult male prematurely, well, that's the continuation, sorry, develop and men deprives men, if not all, of their development and metamorphosis if forced to take on the role of an adult male prematurely. A man's process suffers dearly if it is accelerated. So we can't accelerate the process of becoming a man, becoming an adult male. Placing mature things on a boy, a male that lacks guidance, sorry, shoulders can be fatal. So if we place mature things on a boy's shoulders, a boy being a male that lacks guidance, it can be fatal. So we expect this male, this boy, to now be the man of the house. So in being the man of the house, he have to make grown-up decisions. And because he don't understand what it is to be an adult, that can be fatal. That can be detrimental. A prime example is when a father is absent, and I spoke about this, in the home, and the male, the oldest, is given the responsibility to be a father figure. He then has to stop being a child and become an adult. He has to automatically stop being a child when he's given the responsibility of the father figure in the home. Or being the man of the house, for example, having to now find a job to help and pay bills. We're doing our boys an injustice. And there are many, many, many boys that are walking around in an adult male body. And it shows. It shows how they deal with relationships. It shows how they deal with people. Their response, certain things trigger them. They get into relationships, and then you trying to understand, why is this man reacting to me this way for this simple thing, not realizing that this is the boy in him is reacting, is responding to what it is that you said or what you did. Because he didn't get the opportunity to enjoy and experience childhood, he skipped a process. Now he is resentful to whomever it is that forced him, that pushed him to become a man before he was ready to become a man. So when you say certain things and when you do certain things, the boy responds. And you're trying to understand, for the life of me, why is this man acting like this? And for most of us, I'm not going to be afraid to admit it. For most of us, we don't, because we've been taught to not talk about our feelings. We won't talk about our feelings. We won't say that this is the issue. We won't say that when I was growing up, I was forced to be the man of the house, and this is how it affected me. We may share that, yes, I had to take on that role, but we won't share how it affected us, because that can become emotional for us. And we don't want to show emotions because we've been taught not to show emotions. That's how we're ruining our boys. We say, oh, use man. And you speak that on them enough until they become a man. And they don't understand what a man is. That's where we have an identity crisis, because they're now trying to identify with something that they have no clue of what it's about. This leads me to the man-child effects, and I mentioned this in my introduction. This occurs when a young male is placed in the wrong position because he is viewed as the only option or alternative. The man-child effect. And I'll read that again. This occurs when a young male is placed in the wrong position because he is viewed as the only option or alternative. He, the boy, that lacks guidance or direction, is given an access code to manhood that his mind, his spirit, emotions, and body isn't prepared for. So we force this boy to now take on the responsibility of a man. He doesn't have the capacity to understand in his mind, his spirit, his emotions, or his body what it means to be a man. But we expect him to be a man. And then we send this man child out to marry someone's daughter. And now she has the headache of trying to decode what's going on with him. That man or that boy, that man child, needs to be healed of whatever he is dealing with. He needs to be healed of whatever he's dealing with. And in most cases, like I say, he won't offer what he's dealing with. As the female in his life, anybody that's connected to him, you have to now decipher, you have to decode what's going on with him. So this may help some of us today to comprehend why men respond the way they respond. See, and heal the boy and the man will appear. This topic, I didn't intend to go this way, but I think I was led to go this way, to tie it into what I wanted to talk about, because it's more talking about trauma and things that you would have experienced as a boy. If you were molested or went through any kind of trauma, it could be the death of a parent or both parents, anything that has been traumatic and you have not dealt with it the way that you needed to deal with it. Of course, as children, they figure, children are resilient, so they'll get over it. So nobody really cares to sit down and talk to the child and try and help them through the grieving process. And for some, depending on what it is, some don't believe the child. So of course, that's another issue altogether. So we have all kind of issues that we have to deal with growing up. That was really where I wanted to take it, but I'll tie that in. I'll finish this and then I'll come back to that. This is visible when you see an underaged male in an identity crisis and even adult males. So we have adult males and an adolescent male in an identity crisis trying to figure out who they are and who they want to become when they've been forced to become a man prematurely. So we need these boys to get the help that they need. So the man-child effect, like I said, this occurs when a young male is placed in the wrong position because he is viewed as the only option or alternative. The same young boy that lacks guidance and direction doesn't have the capacity in his mind, his spirit, emotions, or body to understand what it is to be a man. So I think it is incumbent upon us men that have not been placed in that position to sit down and have a conversation when we recognize that there's an identity crisis going on with a young male, or even an adult male. It could be a friend. When we recognize that, okay, there's more to it than that's how I am, or that's how they are. We need to sit down and have a conversation and figure out what is the trigger. So that brings me back to healing the boy and the man will appear. So that portion of the male child or the man child effect, that needs to be healed because there are some issues going on there, and I can guarantee you that some of them resent being put in the positions that they've been put in because they weren't ready for it. And that's affecting them today. So that's one set of healing that needs to take place so that the real man can appear, so that they can be who they were created to be. They will not until they address that issue. And the flip side of that, like I mentioned, is talking about those that have been molested, abused, going through resentment and rejection and the pain of whatever it is that you would have experienced. There needs to be healing. We need to be healed. So I have three questions, only three questions. And for those of you and females, you can probably help in facilitating the answers to these questions. It says, how many of us men are walking around with trauma from our childhood? Because you may be married to a man and you know that he's walking around with trauma from his childhood. But how many of us are walking around with trauma from our childhood? What are your triggers that causes the boy to respond? See, because that helps in your healing process of deciphering what triggers you and causes the boy to respond and not the man to respond. Question number 3. When are you going to heal the boy so that the real man can show up? What is it going to take for you to address the issues and get healing for the boy so that the real you can show up? I am sure that some of you women on here or who will even watch the rebroadcast can pinpoint certain triggers in your spouses or significant others that you kind of question, well, why are they responding like this? What is this all about? This is a side of him that I've never seen before. So where did this pop up from all of a sudden? See, and when us as men, we don't share these things with our significant others or with people. It could be our friends. You may not even be in a relationship, but you respond a certain way when some of your friends say and do certain things. We have to take the blame and not sharing with these people. Well, okay, I responded this way because you said this, and that triggered something in me. I responded this way because you did this, and that triggered something. It took me back to when I was 6 years old and this happened, or it took me back to when I was 10 years old and this happened. I can say that the process is not going to be an easy process and it's not going to be a pretty process. It's going to hurt because you have to go back and kind of dig up those feelings and emotions, the things that you felt then that you didn't address, you have to address now as an adult. So that's not going to be easy for you, but you need to do it. So I'll read the questions again. How many of us men are walking around with trauma from our childhood? Number 2, what are your triggers that causes the boy to respond? You need to identify those triggers. Number 3, when are you going to heal the boy so that the real you can show up? Those are 3 very, very, very important questions that every man, I think, need to answer that's going through an identity crisis. Or even if you're not going through an identity crisis, even if there are some things that you know that you need to deal with, you need to answer these questions. After you answer these questions, if you are in a relationship, talk to your partner and get help. If you are not in a relationship, find a professional and get help. We often say, we private and we don't want nobody in our business and we don't want to sit down and share. Those days are finished with. That's finished with. We finished with that now. See, because you're going to wreak havoc in someone's life because you refuse to get the help that you need. And that's not fair to whomever it is. You expect this partner to accept you as you when you don't even know who you are. Let's do the work, guys. I came on here today to talk directly to the men. Let's do what we need to do. Let's do the necessary work to heal the boy. Heal the boy so that the real you, so that the man can appear who you were created to be, so that you can walk in the role effectively. You can be the father that you're supposed to be. You can be the husband that you were created to be. You can be the leader that God intended for you to be. You can't lead effectively if you got issues going on because somebody at some point is going to say or do something and that little boy is going to respond. And many times we don't look at it that way because we've suppressed those feelings, we've suppressed those emotions and those things, those instances in our lives. So we feel like, okay, we're good because we push them down. But the day of reckoning is coming, and you're not going to have any control when the floodgates open. There's only so much, we often quote, God won't put more on us than we can bear. And we trying to kill our own selves because we trying to bear everything and suppress it and push it down. And the more things you push down, that only means that when it's time for it to be regurgitated, that's more stuff you have to deal with. That's a lot. And for some, that's why you have some people that have a breakdown, a nervous breakdown, because they can't take it anymore. And then you begin to see another side of the person. Let's not get to that point where you have to have a nervous breakdown. And for some, a mental breakdown, because it plays on you mentally. You're not saying anything, but every day or every other day, you're toiling with these things in your mind. Your subconscious, you're thinking about it. And when something is triggered, it takes you back, and you're not saying anything to anybody, and you're telling everybody you're fine, but in the back of your mind, you're sitting down and you going back to that time or that place, and you replaying it, or and then saying to yourself, "Well, I should have done this, or I should have said this, or I should have reacted this way." That ain't healthy. That's not healthy at all. We need to get the healing that's necessary. We have to put in the work. Especially after going through a year like 2020. And I know some people have had some bad breaks in their lives, but 2020 is something special about 2020. And 2020, it came and it hit a lot of people really hard. And this has been the icing on the cake for many people, young and old alike. There are so many persons that I've heard of locally that have committed suicide. I don't know what was going on with them. We don't know. But it could be some of these very things, especially with the men, and not negating the fact that women go through things as well, but especially the men. When you see a man feel like he has reached his breaking point, there's no telling what he'll do. And for some, they've taken their own lives. That's not helped because now you have people have to mourn your loss, mourn your death. That's not fair to them. They don't even know what was going on with you. You didn't give them the opportunity to help you or to try and find help for you. So they have questions that will never be answered, and they will probably never understand. That's not fair. Even if you say, you know what, I'm going to therapy and I can deal with my issues, even if you don't tell nobody. It don't even matter if you tell somebody that you are or if you're not. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that you're getting the help that you need. Eventually, you're going to share that with somebody. But don't force people to have to mourn you because you decided that you don't want to deal with the issues. You don't want to talk about it. Don't put people in that position. Mental health is a serious thing. And the more you suppress, the more and deeper you get into a state that becomes uncontrollable. Talk about depression and anxiety. There's so many things attached to not getting the healing that you need. See, this is my opinion. This is my humble opinion. I feel like depression and anxiety is tied to things that we've suppressed. It's a spirit. I feel like depression and anxiety is a spirit. And until we deal with the underlying issues and get the help that we need, depression and anxiety can attach itself to you. And then you're trying to get help for something that you go in and you're being medicated for something that you don't need no medication for. Just healing. And I'm not knocking anybody that's dealing with depression or anxiety. I'm not knocking you. And if you feel like that's the best option for you, then hats off to you. Do what you feel is best for you. I personally feel like when you want to be locked away and you don't want to be bothered, I think that you are in a place where you're pretty far gone. Like there can be times where something doesn't work out for you and you get depressed about it. Like not that kind of depression. I'm talking about curtains closed. I don't want to see nobody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be bothered. Leave me alone. Let me stay in my little hole in the darkness and beat up myself about whatever. I'm talking about that kind of depression. We need to get the help that we need, fellas. We need to do it. So I have written out here 6 things that I feel can help us in getting the help that we need to heal. I think first we need to acknowledge the trauma, acknowledge that I went through this, I experienced this, someone took advantage of me, I was rejected, I was abandoned. Acknowledge it. That's the first step. Give what you feel a name. Name it. Name that feeling that's attached to the trauma. Third, own it. And when I say own it, don't take it on as yours, but own the fact that I've been through the trauma. I've given it a name. I have to get help with this. I have to do the work. Talk to a professional. Therapy is not taboo. It's no longer taboo. It's okay to talk to a professional. Go to therapy. Work on it and yourself daily. Hey, Jamal, what's going on, brother? Work on your situation and yourself daily, whatever that looks like for you. I can't tell you what to do. I can suggest, but you know what works for you. You know what you need to do to have real peace in your mind, real peace in your spirit, to be emotionally at peace. You know what's required of you. If that means um, taking time every day to be with yourself, and you spend time reading the Word of God and praying or listening to some worship music, whatever it is, whatever that looks like for you, do that. Work on it and yourself daily. Lastly, but by no means least, forgive yourself. It was not your fault. Forgive yourself. Stop blaming yourself for what happened, especially if it was something that you experienced as a child. There's no way that it was your fault. See, and then in situations like that, maybe the adult in the situation, or it doesn't even have to be an adult, it could be an adolescent, um, they may have skipped a step and not making an excuse or trying to find justification for why they did what they did. But they need help as well. They need to be healed from some things that they experienced. And well, this is now, I guess this will go as number 7. If by any means you were traumatized by someone, whether it was by molestation, you were rejected by someone, abandoned, or whatever the case is, forgive the person. That is a big part of your healing process. Forgiveness is key. So you have to forgive yourself because it wasn't your fault, and you have to forgive the person. And you forgiving them has nothing to do with them. It has all to do with you being in a better space. Because if you don't, and depending on how traumatic the experience was for you, every time you see this person, that's going to trigger something in you. And you don't need to be dealing with that. Not if you're trying to get help and to heal. So you have to forgive the person. You don't have to deal with the person, but you need to forgive the person. So I'll list those things again. Acknowledge the trauma. Give what you feel a name. Own it. What you feel and how you feel. Talk to a professional. Work on it and yourself daily. Forgive yourself because it wasn't your fault. And forgive the person that would have initiated this trauma. Those are 7 of the steps that I feel is the catalyst or to catapult you to your healing. They're not the only steps. And they are things that I came up with. There are definitely other things, but that's on you to figure out what it is that you need to do. And when you start going to therapy because you need it, the therapist will help you and can give you other steps. So, fellas, brothers, kings, let's do the work. Stop walking around as a man child in an identity crisis. You don't know who you are. You can't expect the woman you with to know who you are. You can't expect your family to know who you are. You can't expect your friends to know who you are when you ain't sure who you is. Stop putting that kind of responsibility on people to try and figure you out. You're trying to get them to help you to figure out who you are. So what you doing You ain't doing the work. You want them to do the work for you. Unfair. Heal the boy, and the man will appear. Heal the boy. The boy needs to be healed. So sit down and have the hard conversations. If you have to go back and have a conversation with anybody that may have caused you pain, rejection, abandonment, whatever, sit down and have the conversation. If they are still around today, go and have the conversation. And at the end of the conversation, make up in your mind that when you go to have the conversation, when you leave, before you leave, let them know that you forgive them. Let them know. And don't just say it to say I forgive you. When you say it, mean it. Let it go. See, we hold on to so many things. We hold on to so much emotions. We hold on to it killing us. It's killing us. And many men won't admit to it. Killing us. Fellas ain't going to the bar every day because they like going to the bar drinking. Some of them deal with some issues, and that's the only vice that they know how to deal with it. So they go and they drink. Some fellas, they're in extra relationship, have two and three and four side chicks because they want to be doing it. They're trying to satisfy something. They're trying to deal with something to make them feel like. But what's going on internally? Internally, they're spiraling out of control. They're trying to get the boy to feel like he's loved, he's wanted, he's desired. So they go there and they have two and three and four and five and six women that they trying to deal with one time. But you need to be healed. And that ties into so many other things. Oh my God, it's time to end. That ties into so many other things because now when you go there and you do these things, then you have soul ties that you have to deal with now. See what when I mentioned suppressing and then you add into this thing is deeper, very, very, very deep. Because this is years for some men it's years of piling on different things, piling on just because we've been conditioned to not talk about what we go through. For those of you that are on here and for those of you that will watch this later, if you have male children, please do not, I beg you, do not condition them to not express themselves. Help somebody's daughter down the road. Teach him how to come to you and sit down and express how he feels. Do not tell him boys don't cry. Do not tell him to man up. Let him be a child. Children cry. For some, that's the only way they know how to express themselves. Because we don't want them to say how they really feel or what they really want to say. Please, I beg of you, open the doors of communication in your home to your children, especially the boy children. Girls by nature are going to express themselves. Teach your boys, your sons, to express themselves. That will help your relationship, and it would help any relationship that they get into when they become adults. You can help them on this journey. You can make it more manageable, more bearable. When you open the door for them to be able to come and sit down and talk to you and say, Mommy, this is what happened. If you are married and you're a father in the home, especially fathers, open that, keep that door open. Let them, allow them to be comfortable enough to come and sit down and say, Daddy, this is where I am. This is what I'm dealing with. This is how I feel, or this is how it makes me feel. What do you think I should do? How do you think I should respond to this? And we can't help our boys, children, until we ourselves have gotten the help that we need. So we need to heal so that we can teach our sons better. I love you all. Let's do what we need to do. I'll list my steps again. Acknowledge the trauma. Give what you feel a name. Own it. What and how you feel. Talk to a professional. Go to therapy. Shameless plug. Go and find Harrison Thompson Official on Facebook. Work on it and yourself daily. Forgive yourself. And number 7, forgive the offender. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation today. I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and listen, just to oblige me today. I appreciate you 1, 2, 3, 4, 500%. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support. Every time I come on, I appreciate you. Secrets of the Man Cave, get your copies, give the gift of reading. themancaveexperience.com, and it will direct you, take you to the link so that you can get your copies. If you're on Freeport, I can bring a signed copy to you. You can go to Bethel's bookstore and purchase a copy. And if you're an e-reader, you can go to payhip.com and type in Secrets of the Man Cave, and the book will come up. So get your copies. I appreciate those of you that have gotten a copy already. If you feel like this book will be a blessing to somebody, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. I love you guys. Enjoy the rest of your days. Wait, before I go, I posted something today on my page. The Man Cave Experience is about to launch a show in January of 2021. So this is what I need you to do, guys. Go to my page and share that flyer. Share that flyer for me. Let's get the word out so people can be hyped about it. If you have a business or you know somebody that have a business that can use the advertisement, hit me up and we will give you the prices for the advertisements for the spots, and we're doing flyers or commercials. Nothing more than 60 seconds. So it's either 30 seconds or 60-second commercials. So tell them to hit me up so we could work out something, and your commercials will be aired during the show. The show is going to be called Straight Talk. So we're having candid conversations with men about things and issues that concern men. So it's going to be really good. It's going to be really, we're going to get into some deep stuff. You do not want to miss it. So mark your calendars for January 2021. More details to come. So look out for more flyers. We may have a video coming out pretty soon. So look out for that. Help me to spread the word. That's all I ask of you, to help me to spread the word. That's free, guys. Help me to spread the word. When I post the flyers and I post the videos, like and share. That's all I ask of you. And I thank you in advance. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I look forward to seeing you again pretty soon. In 2 weeks, guys. I think that's the week of Christmas. That's the week of Christmas. Yeah, I think that's the week of Christmas. So have fun. See y'all in 2 weeks.